Hi, everyone. It's good to have you. Welcome to our webinar, Reimagine Work-Life Integration, Showcasing BIC's Commitment to Modern Work. I'm Christy Rains, VP of People and Culture. I'm thrilled to be hosting this important discussion today. At BIC, we understand the challenges of navigating the complexities of modern work and family life. That's why we're committed to fostering a culture that supports healthy integration of work and life and empowers our employees to thrive both professionally and personally. Today, we're exploring how BIC is addressing these challenges through initiatives like the program Fair Play at Work. And we'll hear firsthand from those who've experienced the benefits of the program, their life experiences. We'll also get some advice from them. So I'm delighted to introduce our esteemed panelist, Mary Beth Ferrante, who's the founder and CEO of Work 360. She brings a wealth of expertise helping organizations like ours to create more supportive and equitable workplaces. Mary Beth has been a great partner and friend since 2021, post-COVID, kind of guiding us and helping us on our journey over the last several years. We're joined by Olivia Arnold, who works at BIC as the VP of Sales in North America, and Olga Vienna, VP of Quality, Core Technologies, and Product Safety, plus our leader, our site leader of our very big, important campus in Athens, Greece. They'll be sharing their personal journeys as working moms and how programs like Fair Play at Work and other programs at BIC have impacted their ability to balance their careers and families. Thank you all for joining us. It's so great to see you all today.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us, Christy.
Absolutely. So Mary Beth, let's start with you. From your perspective, working with various organizations all around the globe, what are some of the biggest challenges working parents and caregivers face today? And how does a program like Fair Play at Work address those challenges?
Absolutely. And thank you for just having this incredibly important conversation. And I think the number one thing that really is a challenge for working parents and caregivers is that this work of caring often just goes unnoticed and it feels invisible. When we look at the gender gap worldwide, the World Economic Forum actually explains that it's going to take about 250 plus or minus years to close that gender gap. And a lot of that is attributed to the unpaid labor that predominantly women hold. If we actually measured that amount of labor, it's about $10.9 trillion worth of global GDP. So it's a significant amount of time and effort that women and men, but mostly women, are putting into their day and just goes, unmeasured, unnoticed, and again, feels really invisible. So I'll share just a really quick story. We have a client who was sharing with me that she was in the elevator going up to her floor at work, and there were two other male colleagues in the elevator with her. And one was sharing that he had gotten up at 5:30 a.m. in the morning to run 10 miles that day because he was training for an upcoming race. And the other colleague was responding with, "Wow, that's incredible. That just shows such dedication and motivation. You're just really an amazing person." And of course, she was thinking, well, I've been up since 5:30 a.m., but my morning was a little bit different. That morning entailed, making breakfast, packing lunches, getting my kids up and ready for the day, getting out to daycare and to school. And if I shared that same story, would it be met with the reaction that my male colleague received? And yet that amount of effort is dedication. And it is showing, that this person is putting her priorities in place so that she can show up professionally by making sure that all of that unpaid labor is accounted for and done before she even walks in the door at her place of work. And I think that's really what Fair Play is all about, is we are using this as an opportunity to talk about these things, to shed some light on it, to make this invisible work more visible and ultimately more valued.
Thank you. It's such great work having participated in the program and working with you to sort of scale it globally. It is just a great time to reflect, both as, working moms who are a little bit later in their careers, but also younger moms. And working with you even to bring males into the conversation has just been, really, really interesting to open that conversation up at work in a way that's impacting caregivers, not just working parents, but caregivers. So thank you again for your partnership. So Olivia, let's build on that and talk a little bit about your own personal experiences before participating in Fair Play at Work, and also as sort of an executive sponsor of our Caregiver ERG. You've also helped to sort of pioneer our web ERG in North America. What are some of the specific pain points you encountered in trying to balance your career and family responsibilities?
Perfect. Thanks, Christy. Yeah. So I have a baby and a 5-year-old. So two very different sets of challenges that each of those brings. And, a lot of the pain points that I dealt with, and many of which I still deal with on an ongoing basis, involve child coverage. Partially, one of the reasons why I've been so involved in various ERGs is really it has been something that I've realized personally I need a lot of support. And part of that support, of course, comes from having like-minded individuals and having the right conversations around, so that you don't feel alone. But really, the pain points for me involve the balancing of a lot of different schedules. My travel schedule with work is really complicated. I travel almost every other week on an average basis. So that can be complex, especially when the travel happens on different days and to different places. So it's kind of all over the place. I also have a very complicated and sometimes inflexible meeting schedule. I have time zones under my coverage that span the US and sometimes involve other regions. All of that creates a really complex balancing act, sort of a Tetris game. I like to call my schedule an active Tetris game, trying to figure out how things piece together. And the travel especially ends up being something that requires a lot of forethought. So that's really one of the primary pain points that I deal with. And I'll talk a little bit about some of the things that I do to come up with the ways of addressing that and balancing that and working with my partner and my support network. So that's a whole separate topic in its own. But, the piece of layering in children's schedules, especially two very different children's schedules on top of all of that work commitment is a really tough balancing act. So, that has only increased as each kid has added on layers of additional activity and things that I have to balance. So a lot happening all at one time.
I have known you since you joined BIC, and I am continuously impressed on how you do that, always smiling, and being, quite the role model for your team. So it's not easy, but you seem to handle it with such grace. Olga, so you've navigated similar challenges to Olivia, balancing career and family with now older children. Looking back, what were some of the key insights or lessons that you learned from that time that now inform how you support your team, who are currently managing young families?
Yeah. Yes. So looking back, one of the biggest lessons I have learned is that we cannot be everything to everyone all the time. And actually, that's okay. When I have, a very small kid at home, I always carry a lot of guilt. I was wondering always if I'm good at work, if I'm good at the office, and if I can handle my family the same way. And I was jangling with tons of responsibility in both places. So over the time, what I've learned is how to set boundaries, how to openly communicating, and most importantly, how can I permit myself to be a human? And I learned how to ask for help. And most importantly, how to accept it when it was offered to me. And this is exactly the experience and this journey that shaped the way I treat today my team, right? And I'm trying to lead with empathy and flexibility. And I know that there is not a one size fits all model approach to this topic. Everyone is different. So what it really matters is to create this space for open, honest conversation about the caregiving and work. So people feel that they don't have to choose between being a great parent and being very good at work. I mean, as we all have been through this journey, we can be super supportive today, and we're always there to support and not to judge.
It's so powerful, Olga. I can relate on so many levels to that, and it's quite interesting this time that we're in, right, where we get to sort of shepherd our learnings where it may have been just slightly harder. A few years ago when I was raising my younger children, that we really get to impact the way their daughters get to experience work and understand that you can do both, and you've done it and gotten very high in the organization and within your country so people can learn a lot from you. So thank you for sharing your experience and your wisdom. Olivia, how has participating in fair play at work changed the way you communicate with your partner, your manager, and your team about your work and family needs?
So fair play at work really encouraged me to formalize the conversations that I was having in some capacity, but really make dedicated effort to have the conversations around the coverage that I have for children and how I balance my schedule with my partner. So my husband and I try to have dedicated weekly check-in conversations. Usually that's on Sunday nights as we're planning out the week, and we focus on identifying the upcoming weeks of travel, what those look like, who's the primary pickup person, be it my husband, or I also have parents who live locally, what meetings that I have coming up that are not flexible, and what that means in terms of managing our children's schedules. And my husband also works a demanding full-time job. Fortunately, he doesn't travel, so we don't have the added complexity of someone who travels, but I have to be respectful of his schedule too. And I try very much to be, but that means when I'm out of town, he manages everything, and he's very competent and capable at that. Thankfully, I am lucky in that I have a partner who is over indexing in terms of the time and the amount of work he puts into managing our personal lives. And when I'm gone, he handles everything. He coordinates the schedules. I really have a very light mental load because I have to be focused on work things, and he bears the brunt of the mental load when I'm gone. But then when I'm in town, I try to over index so that I'm really helping to make sure that when I am available, I'm dedicating as much time as I can so that it's a more balanced type of dynamic. And so that it's important in the way that we work together, that we define very clearly who's doing what at what point, what the expectations are, and he doesn't feel like I'm springing on something on him that isn't planned or isn't acknowledged, and that I'm taking advantage of the time that he spends. We coordinate that very deliberately, and I think the workshop and the work that we've done here at BIC has helped me really understand how important it is to make that a very formal and structured approach, as opposed to just assuming that it will get done and just leaving it to him to manage.
I love that. That's amazing. Thank you for sharing. Olga, can you share some specific examples of how BIC's culture, beyond the formal programs, foster an environment where you feel supported in your work and family responsibilities?
Sure. Honestly, Christy, I'm the real example here. How BIC supports parents. So I'll share my personal story first. I was hired many years ago while I was pregnant, 7 months. And not only that, but they waited for me for about 6 months until I was ready to leave the newborn and have myself at the office. And this support and patience during that phase of my life told me everything I needed to know about BIC's value, which makes a huge difference, as you understand. And it's not only me, right? Over the years, I have seen colleagues who were promoted during their maternity leave. and they came back and they're thriving and they're super successful. And for me, that was a very strong message that our careers don't have to pose when we decide to grow our families. What it really matters is the long-term value that the employee will bring in the organization, and this trust that has been built over the years. And this is a mindset that I see it all over in BIC, right? We operate in so many different countries, no matter what. So it's something that doesn't really happen accidentally. It's a mindset, and it's a mindset that BIC, with initiatives like the Fair Play, for example, shows is a proof that we continue to reinforce this culture, and we are ensuring that we lead with this mindset of supporting parents at work. So this is what really makes the difference, and that what makes our organization very unique, actually.
So true. I love your journey, and at BIC, Olivia's journey is very similar. Interestingly enough, two separate continents, two very different career paths, but similar experiences. Olivia, maybe tell us a little bit about how BIC support through programs like Fair Play, but also, building on Olga's points, just the culture in general has impacted your overall sense of well-being and your success at BIC.
Absolutely. So my story is very similar to Olga's. I also interviewed with BIC when pregnant, and BIC knew that and hired me knowingly and happily, supporting me essentially from the very beginning and making sure that I had the right balance as soon as I started and the right support there. And then similarly to what Olga mentioned, I also was promoted when I was out on my recent maternity leave. And I think that both my example and Olga's are such testaments to the support the company provides, the respect they have for our personal lives, and just the way that we operate and encourage people to be growing in every way, both professionally and personally. And I think that piece of support, the support for both personal and professional development, is something that's very unique to BIC. We really appreciate that every person has this complicated balance, but also aspires to transform themselves, again, personally and professionally. And I think the programs that we do, Fair Play, other investments that we make in our people and development really speak to that desire, not just to continue to build skills and advance people internally at the company, but also to build the individual people that we are developing and focus on developing them personally as well. And I really try to set an example for my team. And again, being involved in various ERGs that we have here in the US and encouraging people on my team to take leadership roles in those, to be involved in those. Those are all elements that have helped me, again, feeling this sense of community, but also hopefully are helping various team members feel like they have that support as well and have that network, not just outside of work, where hopefully folks are able to rely on their support networks like I do, but also internally at work, we have people who have similar experiences can help give the support that people are looking for as well.
I wish I could bottle that story, both your and Olga's. It's really so great to hear. So Mary Beth will kind of pitch it over to you after hearing that, knowing a little bit more about BIC's culture over these last several years. In your experience, what is really the biggest misconception that companies have about supporting working parents? How does Fair Play help to correct that misconception?
Absolutely. And I think, Olga and Olivia really, through your stories, shared exactly what I think BIC does differently, which is to think about this from a long-term perspective and to really recognize that the value of the employee is a long-term commitment to their career and journey, both professionally and personally. I think oftentimes what we see with the organizations that we are just starting to work with is that they're so focused on short-term results. I've had leaders share with me, like, I know I'm not supposed to say this, but I don't hire anyone in their early 30s because I'm afraid that they're going to be out on leave and I can't take that chance, or I need them to be there. And I think what BIC is really doing is showcasing that we take a different approach. We really focus on, how we are committed to our employees and how we encourage them to grow. And, I understand it. There are short-term results that matter, but we also want to make sure that we're emphasizing that this is an opportunity to really invest in employees. I think the other thing that often comes up is that many organizations don't feel it's their place, right? They feel like we're only supposed to talk about work. We're not supposed to kind of go into our personal lives. But let's be real. We all know that work-life balance, integration, whatever we want to call it, it's all happening at the same time. And it's a journey. And there are many inflection points where things get crazier in our home lives or crazy in our work lives. And what Fair Play really does is gives us the tools and the language to have these conversations, both in the workplace and in our homes, in a way that helps us kind of manage all of those different competing priorities in a way that really is going to support us in determining what's right for us personally and professionally so that we can be successful in many aspects of our life.
That's so great. Yes, a testament to that. I could give many stories where that is where the program is helping me in my life today, with, caring for an aging parent, and at work, it's been very helpful. So Olga and Olivia, maybe give us one piece of advice you would give to other working parents who are struggling to find better balance.
So mine is sort of a practical piece. Obviously, you want to find your support network and have your balance, but what really has helped me, and this is again sort of a practical element, is that I treat 5-minute chunks as things to get done now. So anything that is going to take 5 minutes or less, do it now, get it done. Don't procrastinate it. Just get it, clear it off the to-do list. And that keeps my to-do list concentrated on just the things that really require the mental headspace, the focus, and the concentration. And you dedicate time to that later when you have it. But keep those 5-minute tasks off the plate. That I know this seems really specific and practical, but it helps me so much to make sure that I keep what has to require more time and effort on my list, and I wipe out the things that don't.
That's awesome, Olivia. I love it. And what I would like to emphasize as well through my journeys again is just don't be afraid to ask for help and accept it when it's being offered to you. I mean, sometimes we all think that we need to do everything, but knowing our limits is not a weakness. It's actually a strength, because then you know where to lean to your partner or your team or your community. And just as importantly, be kind to yourself. I mean, balance is not about equal. Everything is not equal, perfectly equal every day, right? Sometimes we need to be more focused at home and some other times at work. And that's absolutely okay. So for me, what we need to do is to honor both parts in life, family and work. They're equally important, both of them, and equally meaningful as we go through life.
So true. I think one of the takeaways that I had that has been really, really helpful from Fair Play is to let go. So once you assign, somebody else has the responsibility, trust they're never going to do it the way you would do it. They're going to do it the way they do it. And that's got to be okay. So let go. So Mary Beth, what's a small actionable step that any working parent, caregiver can take today to improve their work-life integration, even if their employer doesn't offer a formal program?
Yeah, I think the one thing that I offer to anyone that we're working with is to simply care out loud, talk about it, share with your team, share with your manager, And share with your friends and family as well. How are you actually getting it done? Oftentimes people will even ask me, like, how do you do it all? And I will say something kind of quippy, like, oh, not well, or it's a journey, and I kind of ignore it. But what I've really learned over the years is to start to share specifics, just like Olivia did. Give an example of how you actually clear things off your plate. Share how you're getting that support. As Olga said, share when you're asking and getting help, and how that's actually supporting you. So really, at the end of the day, if we can all talk about it and care out loud, it's going to help everyone to do both things that we want to, professionally and personally.
That brings us to the end of our discussion today. Thank you all so much for sharing your valuable insights and personal experience. I hope this webinar has been helpful for you to get a deeper understanding of how BIC is committed to supporting working parents and families, and how programs like Fair Play at Work can really make a difference. And thank you again, Mary Beth, for bringing that to us. As you consider what you've heard today, I really encourage you to take a moment to reflect on the small steps you could take to reimagine work-life integration in your own life. Whether you're an employee seeking a more supportive workplace, or a leader looking to cultivate more people-centric culture, remember that change is absolutely possible. If you'd like to learn more about careers at BIC and our commitment to employee well-being, please visit our career page at careers.bic.com. And to stay up to date on future webinars and other relevant content, like us, follow us on LinkedIn. Thank you again for joining us today. Have a great day.